What's up, everyone? We've got another awesome episode of the YuGiOh show, and today we've got a very, very special guest. Can you introduce yourself, please, bro?
My name is Laundry. Nothing really to say about that, to be honest. But yeah,
Lovely, yes.
You're doing yourself a disservice, bro.
Yeah, the legend himself. Look, I don't know if you guys are familiar. Look, I think my first introduction to you, bro, was, and these guys will, Dan especially remember. There was a point before where you did, I think it was Megalith. You made a Megalith deck, bro, and you talked of it. I remember I was so riled at how sick that was deck, because before then, I remember Megalith was, from my perspective, I thought Megalith was just like this ritual deck that didn't do anything, but that completely changed my perspective on it. I was playing Megalith for like months after that, like taking it to low because it was so good, so good. And I feel like that really introduced me to you as a very, very effective deck builder, and then also just like kind of someone with a lot of game sense and like a lot of game knowledge. Yeah, and I really remember bro, that completely changed my perspective, and that was my introduction to you as a player, bro. But I guess my first question is, so in terms of you as a player, what's been your introduction? What's been kind of your journey through Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's brought you to now as kind of, I would consider you, yeah, like a very, very successful player in the community. What's been your journey in Yu-Gi-Oh so far, or how have you got to where you are now?
started playing in like 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Like watching the show like everybody else, and then I played like casually until like 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I came back in like 2012, 13. Those just like here or there, like moments.
Mm-hmm.
I came back for good in 2017.
Yeah.
And I just like at the end of 2018, I started playing a lot on Dueling Book. Played Dueling Book Rated,
Mm-hmm.
and then I still hadn't gone to like any like rare events.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was once COVID hit, and
Mhm.
Luxury was hosting the online tournaments.
Yeah.
LCSs. I started to play in some of those, and then that's why I started to meet a lot of people in the game, and then got more competitive. And then I just went to my first YCS,
Mm-hmm.
Vegas, a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately,
Oh, wow.
my team didn't do well, but next one.
Wait, so that was the first time you've been to a YCS? What?
Yeah.
Never, Brett, never would have guessed. The reason why I think this is mad as well is because I don't know if anyone else is familiar as well. So obviously, you and Jib are big like creators of these legendary spreadsheets that just have basically, if you want to solve a format, they have it on lock already, and yet you hadn't been to YCS or anything. So you guys are just essentially solved the format, and it's like you weren't even testing at higher tier events yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you really need like to go to any premier events to have like you get a deck building, especially since you can like you can still see all the data if you don't go.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I wasn't going to any YCSs, I still like I was looking at like all the information from all the events, looking at all the decks at top, looking at all the deck lists. So I still had all the information anyway. I just wasn't actually playing the rounds myself. I think it was still fine in that regard.
So when it comes to like actually creating one of those spreadsheets, like obviously you and Jib like help with those together. I know that there was one for as Fabs mentioned, Megalith. I know there's a cash tier one that's recently come out. I think Triff was promoting it on his channels. Yeah, as well. Yeah. So talk us through like the creation process behind one of those spreadsheets. So like, how do you figure out like every single decision tree that needs to be sort of accounted for? How do you essentially just get all the lines that need to be put together, and how do you even like look at a line and think, okay, this is worth putting down like on the spreadsheet, or thinking like, oh, this line's never even going to come up? Like, just talk us through the general process on the creation of that sort of thing, because I think it's something that a lot of people would be interested to hear about.
So for the last two spreadsheets, they weren't spreadsheets based around a specific deck, just like the whole set. It's like it was like a Darkwing Blast spreadsheet and like a Photon Hypernova spreadsheet. The goal of the spreadsheets was to basically go in depth on like each deck and provide like combos and information about each deck. In terms of like how the process goes, start off by looking at like OCG combos and OCG deck lists and stuff. I don't necessarily copy information there because honestly, like those deck lists look a lot different, the combos look a lot different. It's just like so I can get like a base idea of like how to actually like run the decks. And then normally what I do after I look at like OCG deck lists and OCG combos, start to like mess around in, like solo mode and Dueling Book, learn combos myself. After I feel like I have a decent idea about some of the combos, I like will play some matches to like figure out like the all things. In terms of like what's best to put on the spreadsheet. If I just think it's like the correct way to play the deck, I'll put it on the spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like you could put like infinite combos on like a spreadsheet pretty much. I don't really want to put something on there if I don't think it's like good.
Mm-hmm.
There's some stuff people ask me about for like the past spreadsheet. It's like, why isn't this on there? Why isn't that on there?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm like, could put it on there, but I don't think it's the best way to play the deck, so I don't personally want to put it on there.
Mm.
Just like if I just think something is like the best way to play the deck, then I'll put it on there. It's just about like finding like what?
Sorry to interrupt. I guess also at that point though, like you're just putting, if people keep asking and you keep building these combos and taking like the ones that might be a little bit better than the worst ones, you're kind of, it's almost like more time consuming, right? Because you're then putting up these, I guess, somewhat irrelevant combos next to the more optimized ones.
Definitely, especially for this past spreadsheet. I made there's a page for like a bunch of decks. There's a page for like Cashier, Despia, etc.
Mm-hmm.
There's a page for Spriggans. On the Spriggan page, I had like three different like combo like three. I mean, there were more than three combos. There were like three different like variants of the deck. I had like a Scythe variant, yada yada yada. And so like obviously like I'm not someone that people will say that it's everything is like personal preference. I'm not someone who thinks that. I think there's like a very very correct way to play something.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if I'm putting three variants on there, they all can't be the most correct way to play it. So in that aspect, I kind of did just like some stuff on there to appease people. It was also a little bit time consuming because the ban list invalidated like a lot of content for the spreadsheet. Like we were just bought to release the last spreadsheet, and the ban list came out, and I was like, oh, they hit tier, and it was like, oh, they hit Scythe, some Scythe combos on there.
Mm-hmm.
Hit Elf, whole Gishki page is basically has to be redone. But that made it a lot more time consuming than it needs to be, to be honest.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
kind of a follow up to that, I was going to ask them, what would you say is like the hardest part about doing it?
Probably just coming up with the best way to play a deck if it's not already out there. Especially since for a lot of things you can't just like look at the OCG and say, oh, this is the best way to play a deck. I'll copy that deck. I'm working on the next one right now. I think I'm really excited for the next set, Cyberstorm Access.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool, and honestly, I think it's going to be like the most meta impactful set we've had in a while. I feel like a lot of the cards in the decks in there are really good, to be honest. And that one.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask a quick question. Is Super Heavy Samurai is going to be on it?
Yeah, I think that deck is really, really good too.
Yes.
The deck's insane. It has like a bunch of like the new Sports Crazy has a bunch of like one card combos and.
Yeah.
That can play like 18 like defensive like hand traps kinda, and they can make really good boards. So like that deck, for instance, I'll use that deck as an example. You can't just like look at the OCG and like copy their list because a lot of the OCG combos, there's a lot of cards in the OCG that don't see any play in the TCG. There's a lot of cards that see play in the TCG that don't see any play in the OCG. Nibiru is a card that, like, every time you deck build any deck, you have to think about how do I play around Nibiru? How am I going to, like, yada, yada, yada. And the OCG Nibiru, since it came out, has barely seen any play at all.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's so different from the OCG for us? Why Nib is, like, not as relevant for them?
It's because, like, the way they play the game, how they build their decks, because of Max Z, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the biggest thing I would, like, when you asked that question, the first thing that came to my mind was, like, why would you play Nibiru? You got Max Lee.
Sure,
Just like because Max Z exists, that makes a lot of players like kind of the same thing with like Dark Ruler. Dark Ruler hasn't really seen Dark Ruler's seen a lot of play in the TC, but hasn't even seen much play in the OCG. How they build their decks, they want to build their decks so they play a lot of hand traps. That like if you get Max Seed, it's really weird, but it's like basically like they play their decks like slower, and the combo slower. If that makes sense. So
yeah.
It's like Dark Ruler and the Beer haven't really seen that much play in the OCG. But Dark Ruler is a big one. Like a lot of the OCG Super Heavy Samurai combos, except like the FDK ones, play really, really hard in the Dark Ruler. That's something I think that like Dark Ruler the cards, you'll see people will main deck in the TCG. So that's something you have to like respect a lot more. I think like Spear Mode doesn't see much play. I mean, it hasn't seen a ton of play in the TCG, but even more recently because of Kashtira it has, something you have to respect as well. So that's something right now I'm trying to figure out how to Heavy Samurai deck good against those cards.
Yeah, and so one thing I'd say as well. So this is actually kind of leading on a bit into that as well. So when you start a format, one of the things that I think is hardest, especially if you're not necessarily like a top tier player, if you don't have a really good testing group, is understanding how to solve that format, how to play through it. And one thing I can say, as someone who's bought your spreadsheets in the past, is it's a complete game changer when you buy that spreadsheet and you have access to that information. But there are some people in our community who are like detractors of the spreadsheet. So they're like, oh, who would ever buy a spreadsheet and such? So what would you say to those people as kind of why they should buy the spreadsheet? Because I can say from my perspective as someone who I think it's a game changer. It really does improve your play. But what would you say to those people in terms of like, what is the kind of value proposition of your spreadsheet that you would bring to them?
So one thing criticism people say is that you can spend the time learning it yourself, which is true. But you can say that about like everything. The purpose is to like save you the time from doing it yourself. But you can say, yeah, you could spend like for the Dragon Slayer one, I spent dozens of hours, like so much time on that. It's like you could say, yeah, you could spend that time yourself, but like between people working like full-time jobs, and, like family and friends, and like the stuff they have to do, like how many people actually have time like spend that time on just like one Yu-Gi-Oh deck too?
Yeah, one
especially in like
sorry, you carry on. You carry on, mate.
Especially like in a format like that like Shizu tier format, where it's like it's a lot easier to just like for a lot of people just like pick up like they don't have the time, they would just pick up like tier or like pick up like a deck like Thunder that might require a little bit less thinking and just like go about it that way. So that's the main one of the your benefits of doing it.
Yeah. It's almost like you're allowing loads of other players to like access these sort of complex decks. Because like I actually picked up the Draco Slayer spreadsheet because that was I've been a Pendulum fan. I played Pendulum Magicians way back when they were like the best deck, and like it really helped me grasp at least like the basic idea of the combos and like not necessarily the intricacies, but at least like I look at that spreadsheet. I study it for like, you know, an hour, 2 hours, whatever in my spare time. And then I know I can take that deck to a locals and at least play it competently. So, like, again, obviously what you've said, spend the time to do it yourself. You're giving people that opportunity to like play those more complex decks and have them not like have to do the work. Obviously, I'm basically just reiterating what you're saying, but
one thing I'd say,
very
another benefit.
Oh, I was just gonna say as well as one thing that I think people don't realize as well is that you guys don't just. So it's not. In case you guys don't know, it's not just that you release a spreadsheet. They release a spreadsheet, but they're working on it for the whole time. So I remember once, I can't remember if it was a problem with DB or something, but basically all of the replays bumped for Draco Slayers and you'd done them all, and then you had to spend ages like re-recording all of the combos. But it's like just the fact that and like just the fact that you're willing to do that, and then not only that, but like at any time, again, if you want me to cut this out, I'll cut it out. But I feel like if I need help with the deck as well, I can just say it in the group chat like, hey bro, like what would you think about this? What would you think about that? And you and Jib are always there to just answer and be like, this is what I'll do in this situation. This is the card that I play in that situation. So it's like, I'd say it's levels above a spreadsheet. Like there's also a level of coaching and stuff that you guys give alongside it that just adds huge value to having the access to that Darkwing Blast spreadsheet. Like, yeah, it is definitely a really good product.
Oh, that's the thing too. People say it's easier just to advertise it as like a spreadsheet than other stuff. But like it's not just like combos. Example, like a couple weeks ago, I spent like 2 hours. Someone in the for the last spreadsheet, like had a question about like a deck that wasn't even on the spreadsheet. Then I just spent like 2 hours in VC with him, like helping him, or like giving like advice because he asked for it. It's like that. Yeah,
and this is like weeks into it because like I was seeing Jib talking about flipping Draco Slayers like, I don't know, like a couple of weeks before Pote, like yeah, you guys are on it, like fully on. So yeah, it's definitely really really good to have and really really helpful. Yeah,
it's something I wish for the last spreadsheet. I went to like an IRL event during that time period because I honestly still think Dragon Slayer deck was actually really good that format. I think it had an insane tier matchup. It's unfortunate it only got like one top.
Yeah,
that format people were like, either play tier, you play Plunder, and then nobody was open to any other decks. But I think I just think like the deck wasn't really. A lot of people weren't on it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
you were like, you either play tier or you play a shifter deck. Like you could play shifter and Draco Slayer too. Unlike Plunder, like if you got a Draco Slayer engine, could like play through Baguska kinda.
Yeah.
Like there's some hands just OT hand or Baguska, but like Plunder Engine that is ever playing through like Baguska. So I think deck had like a lot of reasons to play it. But it's just I mean I can't really blame people for not playing it. It's like if you're not going to play tier, you want to play like a shifter deck. You're going to play Dragon Slayer. We have to spend like a ton of time and effort to like learn the deck. Or you're going to play Flunderies. So
Yeah. I suppose that is the trade-off. So the one kind of question I had to ask you from a different sort of perspective is, like, this is quite a lucrative thing for you guys to come up with in terms of like noticing that there's that gap in the market for people who want to be competitive, but also, like you say, they may not have the time to put into the testing themselves for whatever reason. What was it? Something that like you and Jib came together one day and it was just like, yo, we should do this? Or was it like something that you'd been planning for ages, something that's been in the works, like on the back burner that people might not have known about for a while? Because I genuinely think it's a really good resource for people to have. So I was just really curious as to how that even came about, because it is such a gap in the market.
Kind of got the idea from Nesh. He's all my players.
So you did the virtual world one, right?
He made a spreadsheet for virtual world, and that one was and that's kind of where we got the idea from. So in general, just for like looking at like combos and deck building and stuff, kind of doing a lot of this. Like I was doing a lot of this already. Last year I made like 2 kind of spreadsheets. I didn't like release them or post them or anything. It was just like for my own. I already make them do the stuff for my own like knowledge and whatnot. So it wasn't going too far out of my way to like listen to something to release as a product.
Yeah, that makes. So then, kind of moving on from that, as you kind of got the idea, what was the? Because I guess you're making it for yourself already, but what was the kind of point where it was like, okay, we're doing this, like it needs to be public? Did you kind of like have a pilot where it's like you talked to 1 or 2 people and it was like it seemed like it was working, or was it just a case of you released it and kind of just hope for the best? Like I hope people will buy it. Like what was the kind of key moment where it was like, no, this is a thing that we're going to start doing properly?
Right before the Darkwing last spreadsheet with Dragon Slayer, just thought it could be popular, and then we had Steven or Trips help with it, promoting it as well.
Yeah,
that was really good too.
Yeah, definitely, that's a really big thing. So then I guess my next question is, and I guess not all of this, we can't release all the information now, but what would be some of your opinions about this format on stuff people should watch out for? So yeah, what's your opinions on the format right now? Yeah, in terms of decks.
Yeah, some underdogs of the format.
And let's say decks, and then let's also say cards as well. Decks and cards.
In terms of, I guess I'll do decks first. In terms of decks, the Dark World deck, I don't think it's like the best deck. But it's something to look out for because a lot of people, like cashier players, like you look at like Vegas, some of them didn't even like play Shifter. You cut Shifter, people are playing Board Breakers. A lot of the cards people are playing are just bad versus Dark World.
Yeah,
like you're gonna go on with like Eclipse and you're gonna get hand looped. So Dark World's a deck that you kind of have to respect. Unfortunately, I don't think it topped Vegas, but there are a lot of players with the deck bubbled.
Yes,
yeah.
Simon He did very well with it, from what I remember.
I saw Simon He. I saw some people say Asala also played the deck. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's definitely a deck that respect. You will lose to it. And it might be like an underdog for London or the 250th. I've been playing a lot of trap tricks recently. I like the deck a lot. Yeah. I don't think it's like too amazing, but like I guess it's like by far like the best budget deck we've had in like a long time. I think.
Yeah.
I also think it has legs against like the best deck in the room being Kashtira as well. Like if it goes first, it can set up enough to just stop that deck.
Floodgate trap hole. Good luck, Kashtira players.
Literally, like.
I was going to say, because me and Tom have tested like trap tricks for like a while, because obviously doing our London testing, and we've been playing it against Kashtira and like all the other like matchups like Branded and what have you. The deck is so much stronger than I thought it was going to be. I just thought, oh yeah, it'll just be like another trap deck, but like it's not a trap deck. It's a combo deck that plays traps, or like at the very least a mid-range deck that plays traps to me.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's Sarah, man. Sarah's fucking bonkers.
It's Salamangreat, but carnivorous plants.
Yeah, questionable Salamangreat.
When I saw the first pack video about the deck, I'm like, okay, like, yeah, packed it well with locals, but it's like, the locals, it's like, just like hyping it up, but then I started playing the deck, and I'm like, oh, this deck's actually like kind of solid, like going first. It does a lot, it has a lot of utility, like removing like monsters and filling traps, and with a decent amount of space for like defensive cards, and yeah, like you said, it's not really a trap deck. Like half the traps are like an extender or like imperm or evenly, which are just like going second cards. So
all the traps are like they're like pseudo engine, right? Because they all like trigger off like Sarah and stuff, and they're so easily accessible on like through Wrath as well. I don't know. It's just the deck's very interesting. It's just a shame the artwork is the way it is.
the artwork is very tough. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Very, very stuff.
I can't lie.
But yeah,
it's quite uncomfortable sometimes what I see on Facebook.
But other than
Helps you win a
Trap Freaks and Dark World. Yeah, right.
I was gonna say helps you with the locals on a budget and get you on a register.
Yeah,
But other than Dark World and Trap Tricks, are there any other decks or like particular tech cards that you've been noticing is performing better than you thought they would?
At Vegas, I thought Sprite would be more successful, and I still think the deck has like potential to be really good. Outside of that, I think as a card, one of the best cards right now I think is probably Crossout. That card is like insane. Like for like against existence, like example like Despia. Crossout I think is like the best card in that deck. Obviously, like it stops Ash, which is like really good versus the deck. Like going second, Crossout's the best card against Random Expulsion. So you can play Bell, you can play Pistols. Like you have ways to kind of play around all those cards. You can like banish the materials, like had like Mercurior for Monster Negate, or yada yada yada. Cross out just like you can just like cross out it, and that doesn't have like much counterplay unless they open their own cross out for it. I think that's really good. In Despia, in terms of Labyrinth, Despia loses to from versus the Labyrinth deck is like Barrier and Eradicator.
Yeah.
I think you can easily just play cross out for those cards as well. Like they have to have Judgment or like having like Eradicate, having D Barrier versus like you open D Barrier versus Labyrinth, it's unfortunate, but it's like a one of. So if you open Eradicator, I mean it's still one of, but like Eradicator is actually like good in that matchup too. I think Crossout is best card for Despia against those decks. I think there's merit to playing Crossout and Cashier too. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't tested it, but I think probably really solid in that deck as well, to be honest.
I guess like you could have the same sort of utility as Forbidden Lance, right? But like against just all the board breakers and stuff, and I guess against like maybe Ash on the Theosis, but every time that I've played against Kashtira, Ash on Theosis doesn't even seem to matter that much. I could definitely see the synergy there. Interesting stuff, man. Like,
do you know what? Funnily enough, I completely forgot about Crossout and Despia. Like completely.
Really?
I don't know how. So I was playing Despia at the beginning of this format, moved to Trap Tricks, and I completely forgot. You can just cross out D Barrier. Like,
Crossout's fucking broken, man.
So.
I played it in my Despia list like last year at Nats, and it was MVP, man. MVP.
No, that's
Crossout's really good for that.
Yeah.
So I guess like other like cards like Despia, like Jinzo, the card that's seeing more play for Despia.
Yeah.
You just summon all Brand Expulsion going first against Labyrinth, and it's like their auto win.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like Darksome Warg versus Jinzo? Because I know I've seen like a couple of profiles where they're picking Darksome Warg over it. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to get into like the tech talk for Despia.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's something else that can be brought up with that deck specifically.
Actually, don't know what's the name of the card again. I don't think I've heard of it.
Darksome
Warg, the wing beast that stops your. I think it's like your opponent can't set cards.
Yeah.
It's either your opponent or both players, but essentially it's just kind of like it's like a Denko Sekka sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think I can't see the exact effect, but I think in general, Jinzo's probably can they activate cards? Can they activate cards if they set them already?
Yeah, they just can't. They just can't. So I've got it up right now. So it reads. So essentially, the relevant effect is your opponent cannot set any cards on the field. So if they're already on the field, they can do whatever they want with it.
Well, my issue with that is that I think a lot of time with the Jinzo thing, you want to hold it until the end phase. If you shotgun it and they draw like a Spear Mode or a Lava Golem, then they can pair. Or it depends. If they, I guess not many people are playing Spear Mode. Lava Golem. Don't say you can Lava Golem and like crash. Yes, it might be okay. They summon to their field.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just that Jinzo actually negates the effects, right? Whereas Darksome Warg just stops you setting. So that's the advantage of Jinzo, where it's like, if you're actually dealing with a trap deck, I think Jinzo just does the job a bit better.
Yeah. So trap decks play Forbidden Chalice to out Jinzo and all that horrible stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I can't lie. In Trap Tricks, I started playing Book of Eclipse for that exact reason, because people would
Makes
summon
sense.
Jins and stuff. Yeah.
What level is the this card?
Samorg 8
Level
or 7?
8.
Yeah, Dark Samorg is level 7.
Oh, you're talking about Dark Samorg. Oh, I thought it was a different card. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it might just be my English accent.
No,
Bottle
no, you're
water.
good. I think because Dark Samorg, your opponent cannot set cards. With Jinzo, you can summon it to your opponent's side of the field potentially, or your side of the
yeah.
field, depending. But with Dark Samorg, you have to summon it to your side of the field.
I didn't
True.
actually think
And
about that. That's
if they do play like Spirit Mode, then they can, or Lava, I guess, Expulsion Tribute. So you'd have to like end on. It's easy to end on nothing, I guess.
Mm.
Then you just tribute your fusion, so you end on not enough monsters get hit by it.
Mm.
So it's probably fine.
Yeah.
To be fair, this was a good segue into it. Sorry, Laundry, go on.
They probably do about the same thing. I think the only difference is Jinzo, you have the option to summon it to your opponent's side of the field, so you can't like a lot of times with Expulsion, you want to summon back a Luber to also get more follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is important if you're like tributing, you're like getting losing your monsters. Dark Summer's probably fine. You just have to like have enough follow up to actually like do that. Like if you summon Jinzo will get follow up. Not Jinzo, but like you can summon a Luber, which will get follow up.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem really close in effects, yeah.
Yeah, so like obviously I know that we've asked you a lot about the spreadsheet kind of process, and I don't want to kind of stand up for a huge amount of time any longer. But there was one question I had for you, that kind of I was reminded as we were talking about obviously the different expulsion targets. Do you ever experience like a fatigue when it comes to stuff like this, like creating all the different spreadsheets and going down all the different tech choice and card options and trying to figure out what's the most optimal? Is there ever a case where it just burns you out, or do you just keep pushing through?
Not really, because I take like work very sporadically in the spreadsheet. So I'm doing like the Cyberstorm Access one right now for Syac,
Sure.
and one of the things pages I've been focusing on is the Tribe Brigade one. I'll like bounce between like Tribe Brigade to like Sophia to like the Teller Knight support to like I keep bouncing between stuff so I don't get like
So it keeps
down
it
on, like,
fresh,
one deck.
sort of thing.
Because like in general with things and like YuGiOh, I like to play like a different deck like every single day, to be honest. So I like to spend like too much time on like one thing, so I normally just like bounce between stuff like every day. Like by the time it like comes out, I'll have finished. So.
It's fair enough. That's fair enough. So in terms of a bit more competitive talk, boys, we got a lot of YCSs coming up soon. The 250th. We have London. London's the only one I can remember because it's the one I'm going to.
I feel like is it Peru or something? There's another one in America going on quite soon, right?
Yeah, I think Peru.
Is it?
There's
Yeah.
one happening, I believe, right now, actually.
The Lima
This weekend.
yeah, Peru's this weekend,
Yeah.
and then we have the 250th
Yeah.
Yeah.
in April.
So
in March.
what decks do we think are going to be doing well in those YCSs? Like potentially even taking the top cut, like and winning it overall. Like, are we expecting it's going to be like a cash sweep with like a few random trap tricks in there or whatever, or do we think there's going to be some weird rogue decks coming out of the woodwork? Like, what were you all thinking about it?
So
I think if there's any event like Trap Tricks is going to do well, it'll probably be Lima. I can't see it doing that well like the 250th or anything like that, but on like Lima, I could see it doing decent.
why do you think it will do well in Lima but not in London?
Normally like SS's the area, like a lot people just play more random stuff from what I've seen. Just like the deck like top cut deck information. Also, the deck is a little bit. People kind of know what it does because like pack, but it's still a little bit new. By the time the 250 comes around, there'll be like 3 more weeks till then. So will be a little bit more.
People will kind of know how to play around the deck, right?
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a secret deck that I think will do very well. And you know what? I'm happy that not enough people watch this podcast yet that I can feel confident to say it. But look, if if someone plays Evil Eye and they're good, I have a feeling Evil Eye will top. I think Evil Eye is undiscovered right now, and it's another Trident deck basically, and it's actually very, very good with the latest support. I just think people haven't realized it yet.
So it was like a mini masterpiece, right?
Basically, yeah. Now the new support did a lot for Evil Eye, and before the biggest issue was that you had
Tom's
to play.
just going on the trade group now, trying to find a core.
Yeah, if you want your
Definitely
Serzials, pick
not.
them up now because they're all secrets. But you had to do a lot of nonsense basically to get Celine and also get Interruption. Now it's like one card combo to get the Link 3 with Celine and also have another card. And then you have a Graveyard Interruption as well. So I actually do think Evil Eye, if someone plays it, will do very well. I'm sticking with that. But no one might play it, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's Trident decks, man.
Why don't
Yeah,
you
I'd-
play it, Fab?
Yeah, actually, that's a good
Huh?
point.
Who told you I'm not?
Huh?
He told you I'm not, yeah. I just want you
I don't
guys to know, look, when it comes to decks, I have every deck. You'll be shocked.
You stay strapped in it, Fabs. You really do.
I have my Paradoilers here, okay? So I stay ready with Evil Eye, yeah. I think that deck has a lot of potential. Yeah. That's my hot take. We'll see what happens in it.
Fair enough. In terms of like my hot take, I think Despia's going to win. What's the 250th? I think he's going to win London, and I think it'll win off the back of a branded expulsion resolving. Like legitimately.
I hope that doesn't happen because if it does, there's no way it escapes the Banhammer.
Bro, there's no way it's escaping the ban hammer anyway. Like,
like-
opening, he's getting hit. Like, expulsion should be banned. The card's nuts, but whatever.
It
Like-
might, but if it wins, especially with Expulsion, oh my gosh, Konami are going to violate that deck so hard, bro. Like, they'll have no
I
mercy.
feel like because of the Despia support coming out in the next set,
Yeah.
it might just like hit like. I guess it'll be kind of hard just to hit like Gimmick Puppet because there are a couple like alternatives to that. You could play like
Yeah.
the DB Orthros and stuff.
You know, Ra's Disciple, people will just go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll do that before as well. I think I can't lie. I wouldn't be shocked if they did similar to what OCG did, right? And just limit branded fusion because I don't even think that hurts the deck as much as it seems to. But I could see them just copying OCG, limit branded fusion, and then act as if that's the real hit, and then we see that Despia is still a good deck.
Didn't they limit opening as well?
Probably
Opening is at one, it's at 1 or 2. I forget which number, but yeah, opening set also, yeah.
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 Because the new support is actually quite good as well. Like the new support basically is just better branded expulsion for the deck, so it'll be interesting to see.
The
what
support
happens.
is good. It helps you do more without brain fusion, which is nice. Yeah, it's pretty good for the deck.
And I think that's the biggest problem with Despia as well. Like that is so tied to branded fusion that it's like it's really hard to play the deck and like try and explore without it. But it'll be interesting to see like where the deck can go when it's not tied to just branded fusion. But it does need to get some more options.
People will
Because,
start
like-
to take the AirPods off.
Because right now, I think the biggest issue, your worst hands with Despia right now, you open like only like Despia cards, like Branded Fusion, Maluber, Tragedy. That just feels really bad. Like the new like Cartesia-esque card that comes out is also always treated as like a Despia. So you can summon it off like opening and search ball Tragedy, so it opens up more lines.
Yeah.
I think.
I just want to point out as well the hilarity of that statement, which is the worst Despia hands are hands where you only open Despia cards. Like, yeah, that I feel like that's a really good sign for the
But like,
problem with the
the
deck.
worst Zodiac hands back in the day were when you'd only open Zoo cards, right?
Yeah, it's quite frustrating.
It is funny though. It is funny.
But I don't know. The only thing is, I feel like while I do feel like Branded has a chance to win, I can't get around the whole just losing to Ash sometimes for free and losing to D-Barrier sometimes for free. That's what worries me about Branded and makes me feel like it might convert well, but then it gets a top cut and then just a lot of people get slid out because my opponent opened Ash or whatever.
Yeah, but some people are just built different in it, and they always have the out.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I mean, that's true, because you do need, no matter what, even if like you're a really good player, you do need a little bit of luck to like well at an event. So
Yeah.
How much of a factor do we actually think luck is in the game? Like, as a general question to the table, like, because obviously there's a lot of factors in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I think for me the biggest factors would be like skill and luck, because obviously if you can be the best player in the world, but if you draw a hand that's unplayable, is what it is, isn't it?
So I feel like I'm gonna let Lundry go first. I have an opinion about this that I think I've said before, so I'm gonna let Lundry go first on this.
yeah. I don't think, honestly, in my opinion, probably doesn't mean much. 'Cause I haven't been to a ton of events, I think in terms of like topping, you don't need that much luck because you'll see like the same like good players like top and top and top. It's like making a difference between like getting like top 32 or top 8 or like top 4 or first. You do need a decent amount of luck.
Yeah,
Especially in
because
like some of these formats. Or like let's for instance like last format, right? Or I guess when like it was like tier 0 Shizu tier.
Mm-hmm.
If you just like play against Thunder and you lose the die roll, like and they just like draw the combo. And like game 3 they draw like Featherstorm.
Yeah.
That was kind of like unlucky. Like there wasn't that much you could do. Especially like there aren't that many like how it's a counter Featherstorm and so like so I think these newer formats in the game do need a decent amount of luck.
But some matchups are just luck dependent, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously there's matchups that are a lot more skill intensive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, see, everything Laundry you just said, I 100% agree with. Like, I was going to say, like, when it comes to the decks that top, I don't think much luck is because exactly what you said. This, I see it's the thing that motivates me because I see the same good players. I see Joshua Schmidt top every event. I see Pac top all the events he goes to. I see Laundry top in tons of events. It's like I'm seeing these people have high DB ratings topping events and stuff, and it's like that tells me that it can't be luck. Yeah, it can't be like luck is obviously relevant, but in a general, and you also see as well like they're an event. You'll see like 30% of the people are playing tier, and then like everyone playing tier tops, or not everyone, but like a huge amount of tiers top. Or you see like a bunch of people playing branded, and then a huge amount of branded players top. That means there's some sort of consistent thing that you can point to, like, are you playing the right deck? Good? But then similarly, I also agree when you get to top cut, and that's why for me it's like last four. If we remember before Ishizu came out, there was a period where it was like tier kept not winning, but it would top a lot, and people were like, "Oh, tier must be terrible," or they were saying, "No, it's not really that good." But it was like, no, it's just that. Firstly, there were decks built to counter, and secondly, it's kind of like when it comes down to that top 8, top 32, and stuff. Yeah, like that's when luck actually does matter because it's only like, did you just happen to draw the right card in that one match when it really mattered? No, you didn't. Unfortunately, you didn't win. So yeah, that's when I think luck does matter when it comes to actually winning as opposed to topping.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? What are you saying? As a topping player,
I think it's kind of already been said. I mean, yeah, but I haven't really like. I topped nationals last year, and it was my first Premier top. I'm hoping to take a second one this YCS, but I think a lot of it does come down to like luck. Not necessarily like it's skill factored into your luck. Is
100% agree.
I think is the best way to say it, right? Because if I open like a mid hand and I'm able to play through my opponent's board really well, that's totally down to my skill. But if I'm playing against Sword Soul when I draw Token Collector, that's luck. You know, I've put those cards in my deck, but it's the fact that I've drawn that card. That's not skill.
I disagree.
It is a skill diff,
That's what I was
it's not skill.
I disagree though, or at least not in that specific example.
I get what you. I think I know what you're about to say, and you're about to talk about deck building, right? Yeah. That obviously comes down to the skill, but that's why I'm saying like it's a degree of luck that it's a degree of luck that plays into your skills, right? So you pick the cards that you put into your deck, which is where the skill comes into it. Yeah. And then obviously, you know, your actual gameplay, your mechanical play. Yeah. And then past that, it's the luck of, like, you're in a top deck situation, you're playing Runic Sprite versus the best deck in the room, and you top deck a Fountain. Like, you're back in the game because of that. Yeah. Like, that's luck. Or I could draw a Smashers that does nothing because I'm top decking. You know? There's those portions of luck in, again, another niche scenario, but it plays into it a lot. But it's not a defining factor that makes players good. Because there's I think reiterating it for the third time, there is a reason why these players consistently top, and we see the same names in topping all these events. And then you do get some people like what was the YCS that was it Honey won? There was that one Sprite player that got to top 4 who had never topped an event before in his life. Oh, man. I didn't notice that. It was just this, like, he was the only Sprite player. Yeah. That, like, I think it was top 16, there were 2 Sprite players, and he was the only one that made it through, and he got to top 8, beat top 8, and got to top 4. And it was just this random guy that no one knew. He was an unknown player, that just was like, yeah, I came here to play Sprite with my friends, and now I'm at top 4. Like, it's one of those
Imagine
situations.
what
but,
the
like,
heck.
The
but
biggest.
like, either that
Yeah.
guy has like gone full like ultra instinct mode and has actually like unlocked his true potential with playing that deck, or man's just top decked every fucking like out.
Just all
possible.
drawn 4 hand traps and starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like that. So there's two ways about it, but like it does kind of like I feel like a lot of my top was lucky because I was drawing like the right cards. But yeah, I won't go any further about it. But yeah, I think it's a lot of luck that is factored into your skill that makes you a good player.
Yeah, okay, I can agree with that final conclusion, definitely.
Yeah.
Dan, did you show your opinion?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, remember that Mystic Mind player who won that YCS and he just threw a pile of cards together? That was kind of mad.
I wouldn't call that luck. I don't.
I'm not bringing it into the argument. I just remembered it in it.
Oh yeah, no. I think he even said he was like he was trying to do his bit for the community and get it banned. Like that's why he was playing.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he was saying
man.
that he wanted it to just made it very clear that it was Mystic Mind needs to be hit basically. But yeah, oh my gosh, I can't lie. I don't think I've ever rooted for a Mystic Mind player as much as I rooted for that guy. It was absolutely hilarious watching him play. Jeff
Leonard, man.
Yeah, I was literally about to say.
Oh yeah,
Jeff
true.
Leonard is the only person I didn't care playing Mystic Mind.
It was Jeff.
Yeah.
Lundry, what were your thoughts on cards like Mystic Mind and like Floodgates in general as a competitive player?
Very frustrating to play against. This is like a hot take. I think Kappa Floodgates are good for the game. I think cards like decks like before. I mean like Thunder, and before it was Thunder is Eldlik. Before it was Eldlik, it was True Draco. I think and before that it was like yada yada. I think those decks, everybody hates playing against them. I think it's healthy to have some kind of decks like those in the format because people say, oh, like you should. Honestly, the format shouldn't be 100% skill because not everybody wants to play those type of games. Like, for like a super competitive player, like let's say I don't know, like Jesse Cotton, of course he wants to like play like the most skillful game every time, yada yada yada. Say you have this guy who plays the game somewhat casually, maybe goes to locals once every like 2 weeks, something like that. He just gets off work, he can go to locals like once. He want to sit there and think like so hard all night after like working all day to play like an Achievement Tier mirror, or does he just want to pick up a deck like Thunder and then it's like try to like have like an easier time to win? So I think even though decks like those are frustrating to play, it can be good for some people to pick up. Also for people who are just like new to the game, you're not gonna give them a Shizu Tier and say here you go. You're gonna give them an easier deck, like or a deck that can win. It's not just like skill. Because if you have a player who's new to the game and they're losing 100% of their games, they're not going to want to keep playing the game.
100% true.
You have to give them a tool to try to win the game, even if they're not as good as their opponent, and that's where like Floodgates come in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a necessary evil, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really interesting point about, like, for the long-term health of the game, which I don't think is brought up enough. Yeah, I think that's really good. Because, genuinely speaking, we do want new people in the game that we can play with, and yeah, so yeah, no, I really do.
Yeah, no, that's a really refreshing take actually. Like I really agree with that, to be completely honest. Because a lot of people tunnel vision YuGiOh is, the way I look at YuGiOh is the way YuGiOh is, and it's actually not. Like there are people like I know people who they just play decks that are a little bit more on that Floodgate side of things. I've been one of them, just because I've been busy in life, and I don't want to sit around like labbing fucking Adamant Spater or Drytron or whatever. I want to set some cards and chill out for a bit. So I can completely understand that take, Lundry. I think it's like, especially from like someone from your position who obviously has such a knowledge of not only just the game but like the card pool. Like I think that's a really refreshing take to hear from you, to be honest. Like,
I think what's interesting as well is like when you think about it, it's like as you go into locals or whatever and you play against one of those like back row Floodgate decks. I don't know, for me personally, I've said this all the time. Sometimes it feels the same when I'm playing against a combo deck. Like it's the same thing. It's just you've just done it in a different way that has not allowed me to play.
You're just
the
gonna
game.
waste time in it.
Yeah,
just no messing about. Set 5, go on.
Yeah, that's how it feels sometimes. Yeah, the only one that there's only one deck ever that I still think should have never been created at all, and that's Cyframes. I think Cyframes is absolutely horrible card design, But yeah,
That's such a weird.
Do you know?
I wasn't playing when side frames was meta.
So
if it was, even
it was
meta,
never meta. But no, and this is what annoys me about side frames is this is a random rant about side frames, so I'm still going to bring it up. Is that I don't like that the entire principle of side frames is just your opponent shouldn't do anything. Do you get it? It just discourages your opponent from ever really making an action. If your opponent activates an effect, they get punished. They activate a spell card, they get punished. If they summon, they get punished. And I don't like and the side frames, as we all know, can't summon themselves because they all can't be all summoned the set. So it's an entire game plan that revolves around no one does anything, basically. And I feel like that's not very intelligent game design. So I think side frames is really bad card design. But beyond that, almost every other deck I'm just like, yeah, go off. Like if that's your strategy, that's your strategy. Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, but that's been my opinion about it for ages. But into the last topic, which is going to be the new KDE policies. So there have been some changes to the rules and such, and I'd say the changes are. I don't even really want to say they're changes. I'd say that it's more that more things have been defined, and then a couple of things have been made a bit more strict. So probably the three biggest I would say is. Firstly, the time extensions, the game state, things like that has all been heavily defined. So there's a specific section now about time policies, about time extensions, about slow paying such. That's all been fully defined out. The next one is regarding, now this is more relevant to America than it is to us, is regarding masks. So I think you have to wear a mask now inside the game event. And then the last one is around more things that are considered UCs, and probably the big one that everyone's talking about, obviously, is misgendering people. I think is a UC severe now. So that's the biggest one. So what do we think about the new KDE policies?
I was watching Callie's video on it. Shout out to Callie. I thought he made some really good points in it, because there's one point where it was like you can be banned from playing YuGiOh if you have a criminal record. And like, while on paper that's really good, there are like some people who, you know, they may have a criminal record, but like they're trying to get better at life. And I think maybe it should be dealt with like a case by case basis. But overall, I think that in particular is a good thing. The masks thing, I don't really think it affects us, so whatever. The match slip thing, I think that's really good, because we've all been at events. Yeah, we've all been at events and they've ran on for so much longer than they should, and it's like 9:30 at night, and you're just going into round 5, and it's like, what is taking so long?
Yeah,
like anything that can speed that up, like, good, Godspeed, whatever.
I genuinely think it was Leon that caused that though.
Oh my gosh!
I don't think they finished day one until like half past.
Leon. So yeah,
what the fuck?
I was at Leon.
You were at Leon, like, talk
so
about it.
round 1, I didn't get to play, like, because firstly the slips and stuff weren't working, and then just the natural slowness, and then every single round it was at least an hour. And like, the funny thing is though, it wasn't just slips, it was also judge calls. After every round there was like always some ridiculous judge call, to the point that finally, so one of our mates during his judge call, the tournament, the Konami people who like the Konami events manager actually came over and was like, this can't keep happening, you guys need to wrap this up. It was it was quite crazy. And so like,
was it about a 45-minute one you were telling us about?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, when I sent that, so I sent a message in the group chat showing these guys, and this was like 45 minutes. Probably that round didn't end till like 1 hour 20. Like, that was when the round ended. And then like, obviously you have stuff after that. So like, I left on day 1 of Leon, because I scrubbed out. So I left at maybe 9 PM. I know it didn't finish till like,
you scrubbed out and you didn't leave till 9.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I left 2 or 3 rounds before the end, and this is at 9. And then the other guys who were with me, I don't know, they got back, I don't know, maybe like 12 or 1 or whatever. So yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
Was it like that at Vegas, Laundry?
No, the rounds went by pretty quick at Vegas.
Oh, okay.
I mean, outside of like after Swiss,
the
time between Swiss and Top Cut starting, like, it felt like 2 hours. Because I think they were investigating potential intentional draws. So, but all of Swiss was really quickly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense actually. Because I remember sitting here because I wanted to watch the 3v3, just to see what how people were playing. Obviously the new decks and stuff after the ban list. And I was really excited for Top Cut. I jumped in a Discord call with some of our friends, and I was really excited, waiting.
Was that when you messaged me at like 4 AM and you were like, or you were up till 4 a.m. or something like that. Or was that something else?
I
Was
think
that
that
Leon?
may have been something else.
Yeah, I think that might have been Leon. Anyway, sorry. Pointless tangent.
No, that must have been Vegas actually. No, you were right. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it felt like it went on forever. But now it makes sense because I thought it may have been a similar issue over in obviously NA with like match slips and stuff like that. Which I mean, it might be, but it may have been that Las Vegas was just ran a little bit better.
Yeah.
Someone said, I don't remember the exact numbers, but like half people were like, they're like half the people in the last round of Swift drew or something like, it was something like that where it was like, I mean, like, okay, they have to like investigate it to see what's up.
Yeah.
Because like no X2s topped.
Yeah.
It's just because they're like a bunch of draws
Yeah.
last round. So
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. Then obviously there's the last topic, which is the misgender, and I'm going to put this forward to you guys first. What do you guys think about this? Because everyone will know that I'll have my thoughts about this.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about it?
I think it's a very welcome change.
Yeah.
You know, as I like, I'll get into like the politics of it. Like, obviously, I'm a cisgendered male, but I have many friends that are part of that community, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, if that's who you want to be, I will support you in that. Don't let anyone take that away from you, and if anyone tries to do something to hurt you for who you choose to be, get in the fucking bin. And it's as simple as that. Like, I think it's disgusting to do that to someone, and I think it's very welcomed at the fact of like, if you're going to, because it's intentional misgendering, which is
That's the big thing in it. A lot of people are thinking that it's
like if I was to obviously refer to you know like a trans female as refer to them as male because that's what I've assumed, and then they say no, you're wrong, you can apologize, and like obviously it's a personal thing, you can move on from that and go at your own pace. If you then have like an argument with that person, you intentionally call them by a different gender, then that's where it comes in, and that's like it becomes obviously malicious, isn't it? But yeah, like very welcome change. Very welcomed like addition to the penalties, especially you know because of I think previous experiences that my friends have enjoyed. It's you know it's not fun. It's not a good, you know, it doesn't add to the experience having that and stuff. And I think a little thing that I think I mentioned to you the other day, Dan, is like it is a regular thing like that people do this because of their own beliefs. But I believe there was a trans person actually at Leon, and I won't name any names, I won't go through anything, but I heard that they were I think they were verbally abused and had water thrown over them.
Right.
This is what I've heard through the grapevine. I wasn't at Leon, but this is what I'd heard. And just hearing that, and now knowing that the change is there, it's like, I'm happy for it. Not happy that happened, but you can tell that has caused a direct knock-on effect, and it's like it's just disgusting how some of the people in the community can act for other people that like just take no notice of them. It's as simple as that, really, isn't it? But yeah. We'll bring the tone back up a little bit. Fabs, what do you think?
No, I agree. I feel like me and Dan have had this conversation a lot on the show before. It's not everything that people should feel compelled to say. That even if you have your unnecessarily homophobic or unnecessarily transphobic opinion, you don't need to feel compelled to share it with them. Yeah, keep it to yourself, bro. Like if that's how your mind is, like so. Yeah, I think that rule's fine. I also think as well, I'm gonna look. I don't have a filter, so I'm not gonna pretend I have a filter. I heard recently that someone did this to someone in our own community in Birmingham, and my advice to you is report them to Konami, bro. Get them banned. I'll say it straight up. Get them banned. It don't matter. Yeah, like if someone's doing this, don't feel like you have to be nice and all these things. No. Get him banned. He'll be screwed as soon as he loses all of his hobbies because he can't play YuGiOh anymore. So yeah, like. I just think that it's not a necessary thing to try and beat around the bush with this. No, report it. If someone's doing that to your tournament, go tell Konami. They'll get them out.
I think what sucks about it as well, before we pass over to Laundry on their opinion, is it's got nothing to do with the game. You know what I mean? Like, why is it even being mentioned? Now, obviously, we can pose that question to Konami themselves, but the reason they're having to address it is because it keeps being addressed via the player base. It's just like, it just made me think, like, with what Fabs has just said, like, it's got nothing to do with anyone else. Why is it even being mentioned? It just
and a point that you always bring up, Fabs, before we pass it over to Laundry, is like when you're playing an opponent, they're just an opponent in it. They're not a person. They're just someone for you to beat.
100%.
That is the mind state you should be having. And then once the game's over, then you get into your human talk, should you want to.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that, Laundry?
I was going to basically say the same stuff about you mentioned about an intent. A lot of people are overacting on like Facebook. They're making posts like, "Oh, if you say this, you're gonna get banned. If you say that, you're gonna get banned." Well, no. If only if like you're intentionally trying to be rude to somebody. If you like you actually say like the wrong thing once, it's like Konami's not just gonna automatically like ban you from every event. It's kind of like see people saying the same thing about like all the other policies as well. It's like saying that like, oh, now like you can't do this, or now you can't do that. Or like, if this is written in the rules, we can like bypass it. It's like, well, Konami's not dumb. Like before, this stuff was still like a no-no. It's just for making it more clear for people.
Yeah,
I think a little bit about it. Yeah,
100%. So Dan, what's your opinion, bro?
So, my opinion basically is the same as you guys, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail as someone who can experience this. Everyone who probably listens to this podcast knows this, because any opportunity I can talk about it, I will, because apparently it's my entire personality. But I'm a trans person. I'm non-binary. I use gender-neutral pronouns like they, them. If people do use the wrong pronouns, generally what I will do is I'll try to take it at a moment where it's outside of the game, if it's a YuGiOh, or I won't do it in front of people because I understand it can come across as quite a confrontational thing, and I don't want it to come across as confrontational. It's more of just like, just so you know. And then however people want to take it, the onus is on them in it. Because I'm going to hit you with the cold water, everyone. I'm going to hit you with the old 1-2. 90% of trans people, when they correct you, they're just saying it because they just want to crack on and move on with their lives. They want to just be like, yeah, let's get this out of the way, and then that's it, innit? We can carry on. However you want to deal with it, from there, it's on your back. Now, so this, obviously I'm going to YCS London, so this is something I have to think about. I don't want to spend the whole weekend being misgendered, because I know it is something that could potentially happen. So what I've been thinking about doing is how I can factor that, by having like some sort of apparel or like something with my pronouns on or anything like that. Just so that it's something that an opponent can just see and be like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And I'm gonna be real, like, for a lot of trans people, it is kind of scary because, like Tom mentioned earlier, like there are horrible people who will just attack someone for being who they are, and I've been the victim of stuff like that outside of YuGiOh spaces, and I won't get into it because it's not relevant. But if no one is gonna fucking lie and say that you're misgendering them when they're not, to try and get a win, because that is just so stupid. Like, do you actively hear yourself? Like, if I wasn't trans, like, and my opponent was winning, and I said, "Oh, Judge, my opponent's been referring to me as a boy when actually I identify as a girl." I'm not going to do that. No one is going to do that. Like, what planet are you fucking on? Like,
it's so much easier to cheat. I'll just be like, opponent, look, his sleeves are messed up. Ban him. There's way easier ways to cheat.
If you're going to go down that route, why would you? Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it, innit? Like, if anyone open mic, if anyone has any questions about anything like this, I'm always happy to talk to people and educate it. But if you're going to come at me and tell me that, like, you should be referred to as an Apache helicopter, just fuck off. Like, shout out yourself. Anyway.
I think this was
said
before.
To say the same thing.
So
I think this was said before.
Yeah.
But unless you're in like a judge call, it's not really
Should be relevant,
situation where it's not really a situation where you're using your opponent's gender either. So if you use it like outside of that towards somebody that's like trans, odds are you're actively trying to like say something to like frustrate them or something like that. To be honest,
that's a very
for 99% of like the people, 99.999% of the people playing the game, like nothing should really change.
That's actually a very good.
And if you're somebody who's like legitimately like worried about the changes, odds are you're somebody who is like going out of your way to be like toxic or rude towards somebody.
Yeah, I don't accidentally fall into transphobia. Like, this is not a normal occurrence
Yeah.
in my day-to-day life. So yeah,
It's not in it. Like,
Yeah.
I can
Whoops.
on this, innit?
Yeah.
I've just got a pass.
no, I didn't think about it from that point. Okay, so guys, we're gonna go into one more final question before we move on into the post show because we are hitting the hour mark. So, guys, are we all ready? Are we all ready?
Of course.
Right. So we've already said what decks we think are going to win YCS London Peru, but instead, I'm going to say what deck do we think is going to get hit on the next ban list? So that's the last question. What deck do we think is going to get hit? And so we're assuming in this, by the way, we're assuming the ban list is after 250th. Yeah,
The ban list isn't going to be for a while, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, actually, I'm sure
We
it
had one
is.
last month, so we
Yeah,
can
good point.
expect like end of April, mid-May.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they've
that's
been.
roughly the distance between like the last
Yeah.
two lists. So like
Yeah,
I'd say at that point it is like ban list season, but it can be a few months from now, as Konami like to put it.
Yeah,
Smile.
I think, assuming the next ban list is before SAC or Cyberstorm Access comes out, or right when it comes out, I think Kashtira is the best candidate to get hit. Even if like people think it's not the best deck, I think it is the most suppressive deck. And for that, Konami looking to push product for future sets, even though like the new support just came out, I think Kashtira would be the deck to see a hit. In terms of like Despia, there's more Despia support coming out. In terms of Labyrinth, I'm not sure, but I think Kashtira would definitely be the deck that would see some sort of a hit. If any, on the next ban list.
yeah, 100%. If you were to hit Kashtira, what do you think would be the most likely thing Konami would touch?
Because the new support just came out, I don't think they would outright kill the deck. They would probably just do some like sort of consistency hits to the deck. I think they would probably follow a similar suit as like the OCG and limit some of the cards.
Like hit Unicorn or
Field
something.
Spell. Yeah, something like that.
Did
I think they would ban
OCG
anything.
did OCG hit Kashtira all in one list, or was it several lists?
That was
All
only
in
one, I
list.
believe.
Okay.
It's on in the other list where they hit like the Shizu cards. Unicorn, Fenrir, and the Field Spell were also limited at the same time.
Okay. Awesome, Kashtira.
Yeah,
Yeah.
OCG was like, get that the fuck out of my face. Basically, they were like, I don't want nothing to do with
Interested
this
in
deck,
it?
man.
They were not interested.
Yeah, I don't blame them though. Like I've had a conversation about like Kashtira with like a lot of my friends and like my team, and what we've all said, and I brought this up first, is like tier format was just more unbearable in the sense of it was a tier 0 format. You pretty much had to play tier or a shifter deck, as we've established before, to see some success. This format is more toxic because Kashtira has the ability to just literally prevent you playing the game, whereas
Yeah.
at least Tier Limit gives you the illusion that you can play. Like, you still have your zones to play cards in.
Tier would just gaslight you, innit?
Basically, yeah.
See, it was 100% fake. You weren't really playing.
Yeah.
100% fake.
Actual
But
gaslighting.
but at the very least, you like maybe if you did somehow draw like a blowout card against the deck, right? You had the ability to play. Whereas like Kashtira, most of the good cards are spell traps, right? To beat the deck, so they block your back row, and it's like, okay. Guess I'll try and normal summon my Aluba, a Rise Heart effect. I'll clear the rest of your zones.
Yeah. Kashtira just
Game
feels
two,
like
and
Flunder,
it's
to be
like
honest.
about-
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
the same
it
thing
just-
Flunder would do, like the put barrier statue. Then you normal summon, they're like put that card back in your hand. Also, Also, it's like some brick is on top of your deck as well. So next turn you're not playing over. Yeah, same thing again.
But that's what following on to what Lundry said as well. Like I definitely think Kashtira is probably the most possible deck to get hit.
Yeah.
I also think I can see Branded taking some hits.
Oh yeah.
I think like I can see them like limiting Branded opening. We've obviously said Branded expulsions on the chopping block, which I totally understand.
Maybe even like hitting a Luba.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if
I
they
don't
did.
know about that.
Aluba's
I'm
not
not
that good a
like,
card.
Yeah.
That's like limiting Alistair, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel
I also just think Aluba's like it's an okay card, but it's not so amazing. I'd be so shocked if they hit that. I'd just be like, really?
True, but Konami like to hit consistency, right?
To an extent, yeah.
I would say that's.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree if
I'm
you were
not saying
saying
we should
OCG,
be hitting it.
but
I'm just.
But I get your
yeah,
point.
just
Yeah.
making that we get-
But okay,
yeah,
the
yeah.
same
I'm gonna
branded.
put forward two. I want to put forward two interesting takes.
Yeah.
One's a wish list, and one is because Konami have done something similar before. Konami's done this before, where they limited desires. I can see them potentially, because of how much use that Kashtira is getting out of it, they could potentially ban or limit prosperity.
I can see that.
Because of the
Yeah.
interaction that obviously a Rise Heart can attach those face down banished cards. I'm not saying it's insanely likely, but it sounds like something that they could potentially do. You know, we've seen it get limited in, I think it's limited in Master Duel.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Like,
It's also
there-
hitting the OCG as well.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Think-
So
Pot of
that looks like
Prosperity,
something that could potentially happen.
Yeah,
I
Product
think-
Prosperity, yeah.
it is. I think consistency is one of the best things in the game. The most important thing in the game, aspect of the game. And Pot of Prosperity is the best consistent card in the game's ever seen.
Yeah.
Because it just gives you such a high chance at seeing specific cards. It just makes it like a lot of cards just weren't designed around that. It's
Yeah.
not really.
The card is
honest.
insane.
I was gonna say
If
like
you think
yeah.
about like cards like Tenki
yeah.
are like hit or like limited, or they were hit before. Now it's not, but like see cards like those were hit. Pot of Prosperity like gives you a higher chance at seeing a card in your deck than like Dyers, like any of the other pot cards.
Yeah.
Card like
And
that.
seeing them obviously hit a card like Desires, which like obviously yes, we've had the it's a -9 argument, right? But like
Argument,
that-
yeah.
no, but it's like it's
No, I
obviously
get it, yeah.
with a card that has a steep
I
cost
hear you, I
like
hear you, I
that,
hear you.
Yeah.
to get
everyone can
like
play it, right?
that reward. Yeah, it's like they handed us Pot of Greed on a bronze platter, and then we've just been given Duality on a fucking platinum platter.
Yeah.
Like the card is echelons above.
Yeah.
Obviously, in context to different decks, but the card is echelons above what Desires ever will be. You know, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
Extravagance is just like kind of left in the gutter for the Labyrinth and Eldritch players.
Yeah.
But yeah, my other card, by the way,
Yeah.
Runic Fountain. Get that shit out of my
Oh,
fucking face.
bro, get rid of Runic. I'm so done with Runic, bro. That deck.
I'm so
Yeah,
done with
Runic's...
Runic.
Fuck it off, man.
Like,
I know,
I'm
right?
just not a fan of that deck.
Yeah.
Nah, the
I
deck...
think the fact of like I don't care like that Runic Sprite exists, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and like Runic as a general deck. It's the fact that the field spell goes, I am your draw spell, as well as making every single card in my archetype a hand trap.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
bar like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, it's,
know,
it's a
just-
custom card, isn't it? It's a custom card.
Yeah. But like this is a custom card made by like a 6-year-old. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like with no concept of balance whatsoever.
The funny thing about Runic is I don't even think Runic is busted or anything. I just think it's annoying. Like I'm never against a Runic player, and I feel like I can't do anything. I'm just like, just stop touching my deck, stop drawing cards. Why can't I destroy things? Like everything about it's just getting on my nerves. But it's like I don't think I've ever felt like Runic's just a really oppressive, because it's not. It can't even attack me. Like I legit when I was playing Drytron on DB yesterday. I can't remember what I did, but then the Runic player put a negate, and then I was like, oh, okay, pass. And then I just passed to him. Then it came back to me, and I carried on playing because it's like he can't even attack me. So it's just
Yeah.
I find the deck very very
Both.
irritating, but not OP.
Those are actually the most annoying, frustrating thing to think about the Runic cards.
Mm-hmm.
How they were designed is number one, you can banish your opponent's deck and remove your opponent's resources.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, protection effect.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's only like Huggins, really,
Yeah.
kinda. But because every Runic spell summons it, it's basically on every Runic spell. It validates like so many cards.
Yeah.
Is like I think it really designed, to be honest. I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. It's just
Like,
I think
it's
every Runic spell
18
effect
instant
is
fusions.
ridiculous.
18 instant fusions. Like, need we say more?
Yeah.
But it's also
Yeah.
like the fact of I feel like if the field spell wasn't so sticky,
Yeah.
you know, because as you know, as Laundry said, it's like the only out practically for that card is something that banishes it, and non-targeting banish at that, right?
Yeah.
Because you know if they for whatever reason preempt
If
to
they-
make Munin, right? Which
Yeah,
they're
say
not
clock's
normally
running down or
but-
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the only real outs is going to be like banishing effect. And even then, it feels so bad because they just make Hugin search another one.
What did
Because
Master
they
Duel
have-
do? Did Master Duel like limit
They-
everything or something?
They semi-limited all the good
semi-limited.
spells.
Yeah, it was flashing fire, destruction, and freezing curses. That they
Yeah,
also limited.
Konami are a bit lazy.
So
I can't see Konami doing like 6 hits to one deck. They just don't seem that creative in the TCG. So I'd be shocked if they did that here. But I don't know.
I
I'd
what
be
think it's
surprised
right.
if Runic got hit. I really would.
Just hit the field spell.
What would you say the
Ban
field
it.
spell? What would you say the field spell should go to? Oh, I think ban would make the deck
Personally-
unplayable.
Yeah, it would.
Personally, I don't think it'd make the deck unplayable.
Really?
But personally, yeah. Well, I mean, you just play it with Sprite. You just play a smaller engine.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It would make Runic
crap ton of
unplayable.
instant fusions.
It would just become a sprite engine, right? Because I
Yeah,
don't.
but I don't care. I don't like field spell control decks.
All I'm going to say, Tom,
Like-
is one Runic Fountain is actually fucking fine in Runic Sprite. Like, yeah, actually, it's actually fine.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I personally want that card just banned. Just like it's terrible design.
Yeah, so
But-
Tom's gamer rage over Runic is coming through.
Yeah, but like I think logistically to keep the deck still alive, a limit would be fine. Because
Yeah,
once
yeah,
you
I can-
eliminate
that's fair,
that
that's
once
fair.
you eliminate that resource in Fountain, it's not difficult to get it back, but you have more preventative measures to prevent them getting that card back.
Yeah,
And it
I
doesn't
agree
mean
with
they can just make another Hugin and search one, right?
I
So
100%
Or even like
I think-
Hugin to 1.
yeah, Hugin to 1. I
You
could
know
see.
what? Actually, yeah, especially because it recycles itself. It means that basically, if you're not careful with your Hugins, then like you're a bit shafted, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I could go on that. But okay, then, well, let's move on from Runic then. So we've got Kashtira, we've got Brandon, we've got Runic. Any other decks that we think might get hit?
Depending on how well Trap Tricks does and how representative it is, they might put something like 0 to 2 or some shit like that. But I don't think that's.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen.
I do not think
That's
Trap Tricks is.
surprising.
I've been seeing a lot of this about Trap Tricks being hit, and I feel like this is if Trap Tricks got hit, it would make 0 sense because it's not even strong
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I think it would just depend on like literally if it was like it popped off in the same way Salamangreat did, or like the same way
Yeah.
that Monarchs did.
But then
or ABC did.
even then, I would expect it to get hit in like a year. Like, do you get it? I'd
Yeah.
be shocked if they hit Trap Tricks because it's just and it's just
I've
not
seen
that
people.
strong.
Yeah. I've seen people talking about it in it. What might be
Yeah.
worth mentioning.
can't
Maybe
let-
Sword Soul. That's a deck that's always been
That
on
was going to be
fringes.
my thing, just because it's so cheap now. Like Konami has a habit of letting decks get reprinted and then slapping them in the face, even if they're not relevant. So I could very much see Sword Soul taking a hit for no reason. Yeah, Konami just decides, you know what, have Moye at 1 for no reason. No one's playing it anyway, but yeah, go for it. So,
Unbanned
Yeah.
Harp Horror.
oh my gosh, it's never coming back. But guys, on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
note,
we'll
we're gonna move into the post show because we've gone a bit over. But yeah, thank you, Landry, so much for coming on, bro. Have you got any shout outs before we close off the show?
No, I don't have any shoutouts. I'm good.
Cool, lovely, awesome.
Fair
So, yeah,
enough.
thank you for coming on, bro. Guys, make sure you stay tuned for the post show, and we'll talk to you all soon. Peace.